Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, with an update from Raiders practice yesterday. I'll tell you what, being able to just be in the stadium, seeing the energy that the fans were bringing. There wasn't quite 40,000 people. If I had to say, it was probably a little bit closer to 20, maybe 25,000 that ended up showing up. But overall, man, it was a lot of fun. Chuggs and I had a great time. And coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you all the practice notes that I saw. I talked to Chuggs, talked to Zahn. We got some stuff here to break down for you guys. And then at the very end, I'm going to give you the three things that I learned that, to me, every single Raiders fan needs to see. That's coming up here on today's show. If you want to subscribe for more Raiders news, I definitely appreciate it. It helps us out here a lot. We're keeping you guys up to date on all sorts of videos. I'm filming this right now in a hotel in Las Vegas. I'm getting ready to catch on my flight to get back to Dallas. Wish I could stay for the Raiders and Cowboys preseason game, but we're going to be doing a watch party on Saturday, so make sure you're tuned in. We're going to have over 100,000 Raiders fans watching that bad boy. All right, here we go. Let's go through the practice notes. First one was Nathan Peterman was rocking number 10 to me. I laughed a little bit because, you see number 10, I'm getting like bad deja vu with Jimmy Garoppolo, but to be honest, Nathan Peterman looked better than Jimmy Garoppolo ever did in the Raiders uniform. And, he was able to go out there. You could see some of the arm strength. And to me, he's clearly the third best quarterback on this roster. Thayer Munford did not practice. He's dealing with a hand injury, which gives his, a little bit of an opportunity here for DJ Glaze. I don't have an update in terms of when he's going to be able to return. But Glaze looked like he's going to be able to handle some of this work here with the ones at right tackle. And quite frankly, depending on how severe this injury is for Thayer and depending on how much DJ continues to get work there at right tackle, even if Thayer gets back, I'm not sure it's 100% a lock that he's going to give that job back to DJ Glaze. Aidan O'Connell was working with the ones to start the practice, which, like a lot of people were looking at a lot of other stuff. We had a great view of the quarterbacks. I felt like they were always playing really, really close to us, which was nice to see, which you can't say that for everyone that was there. But he was clearly working with the ones to start with the offense. Gardner Minshew was working with the twos today. Jackson Powers-Johnson, I did see him. He was on the practice field. He was wearing a red non-contact jersey. When they were doing like a lot of like I'll call it live practice stuff, which I'll talk about here in a moment, he wasn't in that stuff. They did this like opening period, which was definitely a little bit more of just warm-ups out there, going through some of the motions, and then they got into a stretching period. Before the stretching period, JPJ was out there, like I said, in a red non-contact jersey, which definitely, shows that he's dealing with something minor. But then also on top of that, as reported by Tashawn Reed on Saturday and in the video that I talked about a little bit on Tuesday, that he's definitely dealing with some sort of concussion there. So just, something to look at. But the fact that he was out there, I do think that that's a good sign. Tyree Wilson, you see him I saw him in person last year at the airport with Chuggs. And, he's just a really big guy. But then being able to compare him next to other NFL players, I mean, he's just a massive human being. To get off is slow. At this point, I think it just is what it is. Maybe he's better suited at defensive tackle. But, the power, you can just see that he's a gifted athlete. And, man, oh, man, I hope that it ends up clicking for him this season. Brock Bowers, my note literally is just he's good. And it's one of those things, you can easily say it. And I keep saying on this show, he looks like a dude that can do your taxes. And if he didn't look like that, people would be hyping him up a lot more. I think he's no doubt a top 10 tight end in the NFL already. They use him in so many different ways. I can't wait to see how many rushing yards he gets this season. He's going to be lining up as a fullback, not blocking, but more of a jet sweep. Again, we always said, think of it as the way that the Niners use Kyle's Juszczyk. I think the way that the Niners use Juszczyk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, if you could morph that person into one person, it's Brock Bowers. I think that's how the Raiders are going to use him, and it's fun to really watch him go out there and run. He's fast, he can catch, and he is just sneaky good. He reminds me, of Hunter Renfrow, a guy you're I can't believe this guy plays in the NFL, and you're he's unbelievable. Let's go to the next one here. Davante Adams against Jack Jones, I thought was the best matchup to watch, and Davante being there, there was a lot of energy. The wide receiver room, it's amazing how much better it is with 17 there. But the energy that both Jack Jones and Davante are bringing to the offense and to the defense, that battle, iron sharpens iron, and it's really fun to watch, man. Jack Jones is going to really surprise some people this season. I'm excited to see Trevon Merrick. That guy's the real deal, no doubt about it. And that defense is the real deal. But Jack Jones, I think, he's one of those players that he's got all the talent in the world. He just needs to have that swagger and that confidence. Looks like he's got it right now. And he was vibing with the fans, which was cool. Him and Nate Hobbs were vibing with us on the sidelines and stuff. But, oh, man, he was great. That was the best matchup I think I saw all day. Raiders quarterback drills was in this order, and this was, again, before live action. was Aidan O'Connell was 1, Gardner Minshew 2, Anthony Brown 3, Carter Bradley 4, Nathan Peterman is how they were going through doing a lot of the quarterback drills to start. And then, again, this is clearly early on, but Aidan was, and I mean clearly, working with the ones over Gardner Minshew. So one of the things that, I've been waiting to see is who's going to get that start against the Dallas Cowboys on Saturday, because if it's up to me, I would start Gardner Minshew because you started Aidan in that first game, even though, I know that there's not going to be a lot of starters playing in this game, but I would start Gardner just to see what it looks like. So my question to the nation out there is this, and it's going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. Who starts versus the Cowboys? Is it going to be Aidan O'Connell? Is it going to be Gardner Minshew? Let me know down below in the comments. My answer on this is, at this point, I feel like I got to stay true to what I believe and stay true to what I would do if I was the Raiders. And I believe that they're going to start Gardner Minshew. And when you see the little bit later on here in today's video with some of the notes that I have, I think you might early on be like, Mitch, bro, give it up. Aidan's working with the ones. You're saying he's clearly working with the ones. He's going to be with the ones. When we get to a little bit later on here in the show and some of these other notes, you might be like, all right, man, maybe it's going to end up being Gardner Minshew. All right, we're going to keep it rolling here. Defense, I thought early on was locking guys up, and sometimes like some of the big plays that the quarterbacks, the offense would make, it's 3.5 seconds after, Aidan calls hike, and you can see what they're telling them, those guys to do is they're telling them go through their reads. And because there's sometimes a throw that's available, but if you're in practice, you don't want to just check it down to the 5-yard guy. They're going through reads. They're trying to scramble drill. And there was a few times where, some nice plays were made, but, 3, 4, I don't want to say 5 seconds, but they were definitely probably would have been an NFL sack. One of the nicest plays of the entire day, quite frankly, I thought it was the nicest play of the day for the offense, was Gardner Minshew was scrambling a little bit and, just bought himself some time, flung one up into the air to Christian Wilkerson, and Wilkerson came down with it. And if there's one thing that I'm just continuously seeing, Wilkerson's going to make this roster in my book. I really, really do believe that. He's going to end up being that wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6. I'll admit Jalen Guyton, number 4, Chuggs was like, dude, that 4 guy's all over the place. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's Guyton. That's your guy. Shout out Mean Green. And he's like, yeah, he's looking good. Jalen Guyton, I did think, looked pretty good, running crisp routes, was a pretty quick player overall. I would say that this wide receiver room right now is Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, DJ Turner, Jalen Guyton, and Christian Wilkerson. If they're going to keep 6, it's going to be those 6 guys right there. Another beautiful play, and I mean, this was a hell of a play. Minshew was QB, and he threw into Devontae, and I'm not kidding you when I say this, Jacorian Bennett took it right out of Devontae Adams' hands. Now, maybe Devontae was handling it like practice. If anybody wants to comment below on what they think, Devontae's saying, hey, I don't really want to play in the preseason. I haven't played in the preseason since 2016. I don't blame him for saying that at his age because he knows that he's only got a few years left. But I also understand it from the Raiders standpoint where AP said, hey, everyone's going to play. And I think the importance of trying to get back to that Raiders mentality is no one player is bigger than the entire organization, but it's also, Devontae Adams. Anyway, Jacorian stole a ball right out of Tay's hands, and it was a beautiful play by Jacorian. And, the defense was fired up, Jacorian was fired up, and quite frankly, it's one of those plays where, if that's on a game day, if that's in a preseason, and there's a receiver the caliber of Devontae Adams, I'm talking like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, these guys that we consider some of the best in the league, and if Jacorian were to do that to them, steal that ball on TV, it's a top 10 play, and I think it's 1, 2, or 3. It was that special of a play. Another good spot here was then some of the backup quarterbacks started to come in, so obviously with the new signing of Nathan Peterman, I was just wanting to see what Carter Bradley, Peterman, and Anthony Brown look like. To my knowledge, I didn't really even see Peterman throw on my side of the field. So, I'm going to be honest, I did take a few pee breaks from time to time, which probably doesn't surprise anybody who watches this show. But my notes on Anthony Brown, I'm not going to rip them, but it didn't look good. And that's going to be it. I think if them signing Nathan Peterman after that preseason game up against the Minnesota Vikings, you could very well see this be the one of the final games here for Anthony Brown, Carter Bradley. But I'll also say they could potentially just hang on to that extra quarterback until that third preseason game, which I do think makes sense. That way you don't have to put out Gardner, you don't have to put out Aidan. Now, I will say if the quarterback battle isn't figured out yet, I don't give a shit if it's a third preseason game. Let's figure out the QB battle because the reps that you're seeing in a preseason game, I'm telling you right now, are way closer to live action than practice. I even said it yesterday. Now, maybe it's because it was in front of the fans. Wasn't as much real game life feel as what I personally would have wanted. So to me, if you're going to get that in preseason, let's take the most advantage of it. But you could definitely see Anthony Brown, Carter Bradley, Nathan Peterman. I think it's going to be a lot of that in the third, fourth quarter against the Cowboys this week. And then it's going to be probably all three of those guys for the entirety of the third preseason game, if I had to guess. Max Crosby, man, he brings the energy every single day. I know I'm a little bit tired right now. It's because we had a hell of a day. I feel like I need Max here to wake me up a little bit and get the energy going. So my question is, and not even so much a question, if we took a picture together, yesterday, any point of the day, if it was a picture with me and Taino, me and Zon, all four of us, like whoever it was, if you got a picture with me, Chuggs, Zon, Taino, Raider, please tag me on Instagram or Twitter at MitchellRenz365. Don't be afraid to post them because I want to take some of the pictures that people are sending. And a lot of times I don't see all my DMs. I'll be real, but if you tweet it at me, if you tag me on Instagram, I'll get the notification and I'll see it. So I'll be able to post some of those pictures from our week here. I'd like to be able to show some of them on Saturday during game day. Worst case scenario, I'll show them next week when I go live on the Raiders Report on Tuesday. But man, met so many awesome people. Our dinner at Ahern last night, Joel's Chop House, was amazing. Shout out to probably had a good 30 people show up there. Definitely was hoping for a little bit more. I'm not afraid to admit that, but we still had an amazing dinner, met a lot of really cool people, and hope everyone that came out had a great time as well. All right, we're going to keep it moving here. They were triple teaming Max Crosby for practice reps, which I thought was just an insane thing. He's gone out there in practice and he's getting triple teamed at times, which I think just shows the level of respect that they have for somebody like Crosby. Brock Bowers, my next note was that he was starting to put on a clinic today, and this is kind of like when they started to ramp it up a little bit, get closer to some of that live action. I liked they went to one period of practice, which I kind of went up higher to see because you're a little bit lower. We were in section 139 yesterday, and we were about 7 rows up from the field. So I went up a little bit higher to see if I could get a better look at the kickoff returns, and it's interesting, man. I'm not gonna lie. You can still see there's some confusion. There's still some people trying to figure it out. One person that I thought looked the best yesterday. Now, obviously, Jack Jones has got his quickness, but Amir Abdullah, he did impress me yesterday. It hasn't always been that case, but I do think Abdullah looked a lot quicker than what I originally expected. Dylan Laube, to be real, I didn't really get to see all that much with him when he was working with the offense, which, to be honest, again, he's working with the threes, and I do think that there's a shot that Amir Abdullah might have a spot above him on this roster, but when every time he was working with the more live reps or working, he wasn't on my side. He was on the other side of the field, so I didn't get to see too much of him. One bad play during the live action was Minshew was looking for Jacoby Myers, and it was a bad throw, and it went directly through Robert Spillane's hands, and then it ended up landing in Jacoby's lap. So that's an interception in my book. Some people might say it is and it isn't, and I know in a game it's not going to show up as an INT. It's going to show up probably as a 16, 17-yard completion. But I think in practice, and got to give you guys my honest opinion, that's an interception that Robert's got to make 99 out of 100 times, and I think that one time he dropped it. But it was not a good throw by Minshew. And quite frankly, I was hoping to see a little bit more out of Gardner this practice, and I did not come away feeling all that inspired. When the Raiders started to work then with the twos. They try to do, not the twos, the 2-minute drill, which we know is something that's very, very important to Antonio Pierce. He does this practice, technique basically every single day. And Minshew did get that starting work with the one. So I thought it was interesting that Aidan, in the early parts of practice, when I would definitely say it was way, way less ramped up, it was much more chill of a practice, Aidan was working with the ones. When they started to ramp it up a little bit and it was closer to live action, that's when you saw Gardner working with the ones and Aidan was working with the twos, and that was in that 2-minute drill. But in the 2-minute drill, real talk, I thought Aidan looked better. I thought Aidan was a little bit more in sync, was able to get the ball out quicker, had a nice touchdown pass to Christian Wilkerson, which, there's that Christian Wilkerson name again. And I'm telling you, I really, really do believe that he's going to end up making this roster here. All right, so coming up next is going to be the 3 big things that I learned from Raiders practice. Overall, great experience, great time. I will admit, being there in person is cool, but at the same time, we have eyes and ears at every single practice. Not being there, it was more cool, I think, to be around with the fans, being able to hang out with the nation, people that appreciate the content that we were able to provide. And it's a long day, you know what I mean? There's no doubt about it, which it's kind of nice where as soon as practice ends and I'm at home or at the studio at Chat Sports, we take the videos that we're sent, we take the notes that we are given, We look at the reports that are, being out there reported, and we can make a show and we can keep it moving. So it was cool just to be able to do something a little bit different and to actually see it, like I said, with your own eyes was cool. And being in Allegiant Stadium, man, it's the best stadium on the planet. It's absolutely beautiful. Also, if anybody found a random bag and it had a bow nose hat in it, it's Zahn's. He lost it. So if you could return it to me, that would be funny. All right, so let's go down to the three big things that I learned. The Raiders defense, it's going to be a problem this year. Like, it's going to be a problem for people this year. Not like it's a problem for the Raiders. It's a legit defense, man. Like, you got Jack Jones and Nate Hobbs. They're legit. Marcus Epps is really good. Trevon Merrick, I really think is going to make a name for himself this year, is going up and like being a top 5 safety in the NFL. He's all over the football field, dude. He's so good right now. The defensive line, you can tell. I wanted to see a little bit more out of them. But again, it wasn't, I think, all that of a physical of a practice. I thought that the offensive line overall did hold up pretty well. With that being said, though, the Achilles heel to this team, which it's just the God-honest truth, the Raiders quarterback play, but I'll also say the health of the offensive line. It scares the heck out of me. And I tweeted out yesterday that, Aidan to me doesn't have a good arm. He's got a average to below average arm, and a lot of people got upset about that, and they're like, oh, you're just an Aidan hater. Here's the thing, like, Gardner's got a worse arm than Aidan, but, like, we got to be able to, like, look at something and say that that's clearly not the way that it's supposed to look. And, Aidan, I thought he looked definitely good at times. I thought he was better yesterday than Gardner at times, but then Gardner was better than Aidan, and it's like that whole roller coaster ride, flippy floppy, and that's what this quarterback battle is right now. But like, the quarterback arm strength of both of our guys is bottom tier in the NFL. Like, that's not a joke. I'm not lying to you. And if this offensive line is banged up and they are unable to protect the quarterback, I do think that going to a QB like Minshew does make a little bit more sense, just because of his ability to escape the pocket a little bit more, use his legs, where Aidan, he doesn't have as much of that, pocket awareness, if you will, and he's not able to run. It does scare me. Like, the offensive line health does scare me. The quarterback play, it does scare me. And the last way I'm going to end this is this. I really think if you were to take the quarterback out of this team, right? Quarterback out of every team in the NFL. You take the QB position away from all 32 teams in the NFL, and I think the Raiders have a top 10 offense, or a top 10 roster. Their offense is good. They got Devontae Jacoby, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Trey Tucker. Like, those guys are good. DJ Turner deserves some respect, man. Christian Wilkerson deserves some respect. I think Jalen Guyton's going to be able to get you some good reps. Like, what people who didn't follow the Michael Gallup situation, I think you're going to get like what Jalen Guyton's going to give you more than what Michael Gallup would have ever given the Raiders, in my personal opinion. And Guyton moves a lot better. And then, yeah, that defense it's fun to watch. Like, Spillane and Diablo, they almost kind of get lost in the shuffle, which I feel bad about because of how good all these other guys are around them. But they're deep on defense. They have confidence. They have swagger, which, they didn't dominate practice yesterday. I thought the offense did some good things. But as much as it's been reported that they have been dominating, I can understand why they've had as much swagger as they do. So, again, the defense is going to be one of the best units in the NFL. I think it's the top 10 overall roster outside of the quarterback situation. And the Achilles heel for this team, unfortunately, is going to be that quarterback play. There's no getting around it. Like, there's no getting around it to me. And then that health of that offensive line. If it was up to me, I would go out and I would sign somebody else to that O-line. I'll probably make a video around that next week if they don't end up doing it, and also depending on how like the line plays against the Cowboys this week. But the depth on the offensive line needs some work as well. All right, y'all. I got to get ready to get out of here and go catch a flight with David Zahn and Jeremy Chuggs. So peace out to the nation. Appreciate all y'all tuning into the Raiders Report. And make sure you subscribe. We're going to be going live on Saturday. Raiders, Cowboys watch party. I don't want you to miss it. All right, if you want more videos for the Silver and Black, hey, click the subscribe button right here. If you want even more content, personally, Chuck's favorite videos are up here. I would recommend those. Jeremy said that he really wants you to check out these videos over here. Also, if you didn't see the video Jeremy singing on my Twitter, please go check it out. It's actually unbelievable. So more videos, hit that subscribe button. Shout out to the nation.